Hundreds of millions of euros in scam losses every year trace back to a single source: fraudulent financial advertisements on social media and search platforms. For the first time, PSR gives payment firms a legal mechanism to hold those platforms accountable. PSR, the Payment Services Regulation, contains provisions that pull very large online platforms and search engines into the financial scam liability chain for the first time in EU law. And it requires advertisers of financial services to prove they are authorized before those platforms accept their money. Most scams start with an advertisement. The fraud does not begin in your bank's app. It begins on a platform you have no control over. But until PSR, you had no legal lever to pull when you wanted the platform to act. That has changed. If you run fraud investigations, manage merchant risk, handle legal compliance, or lead a financial crime function at any PSP, PSR's platform provisions are a new tool you need to operationalize, and if your institution is not already tracking how much fraud traces back to platform-hosted content, you are missing a significant part of your risk picture. Financial crime professionals, when you look at your most recent impersonation and investment scam cases, have you tracked how the customer originally encountered the fraud? Was it an ad, a social media post, a search result, or something else? Drop your observations in the comments. Understanding where scams originate is step 1 of PSR's platform strategy. Let me trace the typical scam journey. It starts on a platform. The customer sees an investment ad, maybe using a cloned brand, a fake celebrity endorsement, or a polished imitation of a legitimate financial firm. They click through to a convincing fake website. They are onboarded as a customer. They transfer money through your PSP. By the time the scam surfaces, the funds are gone. Here is the key asymmetry. The social engineering and trust building happened entirely on the platform, but the financial loss, the reimbursement cost, and the reputational damage land on the PSP. Before PSR, PSPs had no formal legal mechanism to hold the platform accountable. They could try to notify and request takedown, but there was no obligation for the platform to respond. PSR changes that equation. Here is what PSR actually says about platforms in plain terms. Rule 1. Very large online platforms and search engines must verify that any advertiser promoting financial services can demonstrate they are authorized or legally exempt in the relevant country. Rule 2. If a PSP notifies a platform of fraudulent financial content and the platform fails to act, the platform can face liability toward the PSP. PSR's platform provisions interact with the EU's Digital Services Act, DSA. Very large online platforms, VLOPs, are those designated under the DSA with over 45 million monthly active users in the EU. These include the major social media networks and search engines. This is not a provision aimed at small startups. It targets the platforms with the largest reach and the greatest capacity to amplify scam content. The advertiser verification requirement is a significant mechanism. Any entity wanting to advertise financial services on a VLOP must be able to demonstrate authorization or legal exemption in the relevant EU country. In theory, this creates a first-line filter that prevents unregistered and unregulated entities from buying their way into consumer attention via legitimate ad networks. The liability mechanism works through notification. Your PSP identifies fraudulent financial content, an ad, a page, a link, that is connected to a scam your customers experienced. You formally notify the platform with documented evidence. The platform is then on notice. If it fails to remove the content within a reasonable time frame, and if that content continues to generate scam victims, the liability exposure toward your institution increases. For PSR's notification mechanism to work as a liability tool, you need more than a generic complaint email. You need a structured evidence package, the fraudulent URL and ad content, a description of how the content connects to specific fraud losses, the timeline of customer complaints, referencing the platform, and your internal assessment that the content is fraudulent. This is intelligence work, not just legal correspondence. Here's how to build the process. When a fraud case is logged and an investigation identifies a platform-hosted content origin, that should automatically trigger a platform attribution check. Has this URL, phone number, or brand been seen in previous cases? Is this part of a known scam campaign? If yes, the evidence dossier is assembled and a formal notification is dispatched to the platform via your designated escalation channel. You must track platform responses systematically. Every notification should have a case reference, a timestamp, and a track resolution status. When a platform takes down content promptly, log it. When a platform fails to respond or acts slowly while new victims continue to be generated, log that too. This record is the basis of any future recourse claim and the evidence your legal team will rely on. Every scam brand, URL, and phone number associated with a platform-hosted fraud campaign should enter your intelligence database. Those signals can then feed directly into your transaction monitoring, flagging payments going to entities associated with known scam campaigns. They can also feed merchant risk ratings. A merchant receiving payments correlated with known scam platforms warrants enhanced scrutiny. The merchant risk implications go further. If a merchant's customer acquisition pattern is disproportionately linked to high-risk ad networks or scam-adjacent platforms, that is a risk signal for your ongoing due diligence process. Embedded finance arrangements, marketplace PSPs, and BaaS platforms should all factor platform attribution data into their merchant risk scoring and onboarding decisions. Let me walk through a composite case. A fraudulent crypto investment firm runs targeted ads on a major social platform. The ads appear to be from a regulated broker. A customer clicks through, opens an account on the fake broker site, and transfers €15,000 via SEPA credit transfer through your PSP. The money moves to a mule network. 3 weeks later, the customer realizes and complains. A PSR-Ready PSP response looks like this. The claims team assesses the case against the PSR impersonation and app framework. The fraud intelligence team identifies the platform and the specific ad content. A formal notification with full evidence is sent to the platform within a documented time frame. The platform is asked to remove the content and confirm action. All of this is logged. The case becomes a building block of your PSR evidence architecture. The platform fails to remove the content. 3 weeks pass. New victims are generated from the same ad campaign. More complaints arrive at your institution. Under PSR's Platform Liability provision, your legal team now has documented evidence that the platform was notified, failed to act promptly, and that its inaction contributed to continued losses. That is the foundation of a recourse claim. What separates a mature PSR response from a reactive one? It is the difference between treating each platform notification as an isolated legal letter and running a systematic platform intelligence program. Platform scam data feeds, fraud models, customer warnings, merchant risk ratings, supervisory reports, and recourse claims. The institutions that build this infrastructure now will be measurably better positioned when supervisors audit PSR compliance. I want to hear from those in the field. Have you already attempted to notify a platform under PSR provisions or under any other framework? And what was the response time and outcome? Share in the comments. Real-world data on platform responsiveness is valuable for the entire financial crime community right now. The medium-term potential here is significant. PSR creates the legal framework for structured cooperation between PSPs and platforms, industry utilities, and information-sharing mechanisms, where PSPs pool scam campaign intelligence and platform notification data are a logical next step. This would allow a mule account flagged by one PSP to be automatically included in the risk assessments of every other participating institution. Any industry data sharing initiative must be designed within GDPR and competition law boundaries. Sharing personal data about customers, even suspected mule accounts, requires a lawful basis. Sharing information between competing institutions raises competition law considerations. These are solvable, but they require careful legal architecture. The answer is usually anonymized typology sharing and aggregated signals rather than direct personal data exchange. Let me close with a practical structure for owning platform cooperation. Fraud owns scam brand detection and intelligence. Legal owns the formal notification process and recourse strategy. Merchant risk owns the integration of platform signals into onboarding and ongoing monitoring. AML owns the transaction monitoring scenarios fed by platform intelligence. Marketing owns any brand impersonation response. Involving your own brand being cloned, everyone needs to know their lane. I have a platform notification template and scam signal taxonomy guide available at zdevIntelligence.com. These are practical tools you can adapt for your own institution's notification process. Link is in the description. And this series is on Spotify DaVinci Diligence for those who prefer to listen while they work. If this episode clarified how PSR's platform provisions work and what your fraud team needs to build around them, subscribe for episode 5. That episode goes into PSD3, specifically what it means for fintech PSPs and e-money institutions. If your firm is in that category, PSD3's authorization and governance changes are as significant as anything in PSR. Share this with your fraud, legal, and merchant risk colleagues. See you in episode 5.